Let me present today's speaker. Eileen Xue is a product engineer at Curacity and the Women Techmakers Ambassador, passionate about building elegant user experiences and empowering tech communities. And for those of you who don't know, Eileen is the lead of the design subgroup of our community, and she's the person behind most of the beautiful designs of Frontend Queens. Thank you, Eileen, for agreeing to share your insights from Google I/O with us. The stage is yours.
Okay, thank you so much for the introduction. Hello, everyone, and hello to the ones who just came. Actually, I would like to still share the icebreaker with people who just came. So if you just came, just let us know where you're from, drop in the chat, and also how you feel about AI. But I will get started in just a second. Okay, making sure everyone can see my screen.
We do.
Okay, great. And you can hear me okay as well.
Yes.
Okay, great. Just gonna make sure. Okay, there you go. So hello everyone, welcome to my talk today about Google I/O. So today's session will focus a little bit about the event, my in-person experience, but also I want to share some front-end trends that I see coming out of this event, how this industry is evolving and changing. So I do have a front-end background and I still kind of work in front-end, but you'll see. I'll explain my story in a bit. Okay, so for today's agenda, I'm just gonna do an introduction. So introduction to myself, what I do, where I come from, and then I'll talk about highlights of Google I/O. And then I'm gonna talk about, like I just mentioned, what's new for front-end devs. I'll talk about tools, some trends I see. And then lastly, I'll just talk about how we can adapt to an agentic era. So I think before it was more about we're in the AI era, and then this year I've been hearing people kind of specify we're in the agentic era. But we'll talk about what that means as well. Okay, so introduction to myself. Hello again, I'm Eileen. I think Violina already shared a little bit about me, so I won't go too deep into it. But I am a product engineer at Curacity. It's a US-based company, and we mostly help hotels get in front of media brands and different publishers. So we try to get them more bookings into their rooms. So I I had different roles at this company in the past 3 years. So I started as a UX developer. So that is just like more front end. I mean, it's a different terminology, but it's basically a front end developer. And then over time, I started becoming more full stack. So just doing more back end as well, full like front and back end. So building features from end to end. So I did enjoy that part because it allows me to know the system really well. So I wasn't strictly doing more like front end anymore. And then now I'm a product engineer. And I know I get a lot of questions about what does that even mean? So because of how AI has been changing our industry, we are transitioning towards becoming more product minded. So my company wants us to focus more on solving problems for clients, talking to stakeholders more. So we're kind of like a hybrid between product, not product designer, but like product, like a bit of product manager, product designer, and then also the developer. So it's like full stack developer plus product. So it's a lot of really from end to end, from customers, talking to stakeholders, designing the solution, and then asking AI to code it now. So instead of us manually doing all the coding, because AI has advanced very quickly in the past few years, a lot of our work, coding work, has been in a sense outsourced to AI, but not to say that we don't code at all. It's just that we spend less time coding and more time reviewing, more time solving problems. Besides that, I'm an ambassador at Women Techmakers, so I will share a little bit about this community because they are the ones that allow me to attend Google I/O. So this picture was taken at Google I/O this year. And then besides that, I'm a women tech advocate, so I like to partake in different communities. Sorry, I think I'm just gonna use my arrow keys. I think my mouse is making it move backwards. So I volunteered at Women Who Code, which is a community that's no longer around. But then now, because of that closure, a lot of people from that community transitioned to Frontend Queens, and that's where we are today. I'm very thankful for the community that is still around, the people who started it, like Violina, Maria, and everyone else who's been volunteering, helping out support this community. And then recently, I was a mentor for Accelerate for Future. So this is a community based in Canada. So I really like their mission where they support women in tech, or just not just women in tech, but just women in general, supporting, uplifting them, and helping them succeed. I also volunteer and teach STEAM classes to children recently at a local church community. So I'm fairly busy, but I also just like supporting local tech communities in Toronto. I feel like after the pandemic, I wanted to do more in-person events, so I spend more of my time in local communities and just as an attendee, as a supporter, as an advocate. So yeah, and that's me most of the time. Very busy, but also like I still love to code, and I would love to code more, but AI just takes over that part for me. Okay. So one question I get a lot is like how to get invited to Gojo.io. So I really want to give a huge shout out to Women Techmakers. So this is a developer community from Google. So they have different types of developer communities. The more popular ones are like Google Developer Clubs, student clubs, and also Google Developer Groups in different cities around the world. Women Techmakers is also one of those communities, and they yeah, basically they allowed us and sometimes invite us to different events. So I also attended Google Cloud Next this year and also Google I/O recently. So if people are interested, you can definitely join as a member to keep up to date with all their latest initiatives. And then also when their ambassador application come out, you can also try to apply for ambassador. So what's great about this program is that they support you in doing whatever you're currently doing. So like for example, I'm talking today in this session for Frontend Queens. It counts as a like activity for women tech makers. So what they do is they just support you in doing, whatever you need to do, whether you're writing content like blogs, making videos, doing mentorship, doing speaking engagement, or even hosting events. Like they will support you, maybe not monetarily, not all the time, but they will just support you and amplify you. So I think that's what I really like about this community. And also the more contribution you have, and then there's more perks, for example, getting invites to Google I/O. Okay, so I'm gonna share some highlights from this year's I/O and maybe talk a little bit about last year's as well, just a little bit of everything. So I just want to preface that a lot of the sessions, like the developer keynotes, the main keynotes, and a lot of the focus area sessions are all online. So I'm not gonna regurgitate and repeat a lot of things that's already online that you can also peruse at your own leisure. So I do want to focus on a few things more like specific to web, because if you're in this community, Frontend Queens, you're probably more likely interested in the web components. And also that's also where my interest lies and my expertise. And a little bit of AI, not so much Android and cloud, unfortunately. I'm not very familiar with either or, but so mostly focus on some web technologies that I think is very interesting. And of course, you can also check out they have an article where they summarize like 100 things they announced. I'm sure there's more than 100 things, but 100 is already more than enough. And we're probably going to cover like a tenth of that. But I will try to focus more on my in-person experience. So things that, you cannot see online, you might not experience online. Yeah, so another popular question I get all the time is how's the in-person experience? And it's amazing. I love it a lot. So this is my second time going. So last year I really enjoyed it. I also advocate other members and ambassadors to go if they were able to. So the flight and hotel is not sponsored, so we have to like pay our way there if we want to attend. But I feel like it was still worth it for me because of various reasons, like the network that you meet, the people you see, just hearing about people's story, where they come from around the world. So I really enjoy that. And as obvious as it sounds, like I try to focus more on in-person aspects this year. So last year I was more focused on like attending all these sessions, but then it was a little bit silly because a lot of sessions are online. So I felt like did I really use my time wisely? So this year I want to focus more on in-person things like talking to people, networking, trying out the demos, because they do have a lot of demos where you can try in person, talking to experts there like Googlers or just any people attending, and many more. Okay, so one of the things that I tried out in person, so this is something that they had on site, was a Veil booth. So Veil is one of their video generation model. So Veil booth, you basically take a selfie in their booth and then it generates some videos for you. So this is actually, yeah, all AI generated. It's from a picture. So it's like image to video. So it's actually really good. I was pleasantly surprised. It does make me look like I'm eating flowers, but flower petals. But I was very pleasantly surprised with the outputs. And this is just with Veil 2, I believe. Veil 3 is the one with audio. So this is this one. I'm not sure if the audio is being played. Is it or not? Oh, let me see if I can share that. I mean, it's not a big deal, but there is just like some background music that Veil 3 generated. So with the newer video generation models, they're able to also generate audio, which is really, really cool. And if you've seen the keynotes, you might have seen some examples that they show where they have different characters jumping around and having conversation, like full-blown conversations, not just like random noise and gibberish. So it can generate the actual conversation, they can generate background music, they can generate like sound effects. So it's actually really crazy how good it is. So this is a prompt that I told the Flow is the AI, the new AI video editor that they have. So they had like some demos where we can try out Flow, and then I was like, so I live in Toronto, which is generally very cold. So I asked Theo to generate Toronto as like a tropical destination. So that's why you see this video, with some like beachy music in the background. So yeah. But they had like a lot of different things. Like I saw that Flow has a lot of new features and that you can try. I think it is on a paid subscription plan, so it's not free. I think the basic model, the basic plan is free for like the first month, but then for like the advanced features, like the actual cool features, it's like a lot more expensive. It's like the AI, Google AI Ultra plan, which is like $100 or so per month. But yes, I was glad I was able to try it like for free. I didn't want to pay. And then this is another cool thing. So I encourage you to check this out because you can see a lot of different videos generated from the Flow. So Flow TV is like their little channel that they had a lot of different examples of videos generated from Flow. So when I was waiting in line to do my Flow generator, they had a TV with just like the channels. So I'm going to show you a little bit of one of the channels. So this is like a Bloom channel. So you can see like different videos generated from different prompts. So actually this is very useful because you can see what model. So like Veil 2 is like the model without audio, and it's the earlier version, but it's mostly text to video or image to video. So honestly, I was blown away just by watching a lot of these videos. I was like, that is really, really good. I'm just shocked. I don't know if you remember like 2 years ago when video generator were out and it just looked like garbage, but now it just looks so realistic and you can ask it to do anything you want. So yeah, if you have time, check it out. And they also have like little short films that you can check out where filmmakers created some short films using Flow. So that. And then another thing that I tried out when I was there in person was the robots. So there's no audio right now, but basically what happens is that there's a speakerphone and then you can give it some prompt instructions and then the robot would just follow instructions. So I think one of the instructions I gave it was pick up the green block and put it beside a pear. It is a little bit slow, like this is like real time picking up, but it is really good at following your instructions. And then at the end of the demo, the robot just gave us a GIF. It's cute. So this is something that if you don't attend in person, it's like you can't see this online, you can't get this online. So that was something that this year I wanted to try out, because last year I totally missed this whole demo experience inside this pavilion. So yes, but there are lineups everywhere. So that's probably why I didn't do it last year, because I didn't want to line up outside in the sun and also inside. Another thing that I tried was the Androidify. Yeah, so it's like this experience. They have a booth for this as well, where whatever outfit you're wearing that day, they take a picture of you and then generate an Android version of you. And then what's cute is that they also printed out stickers. So then we got a little souvenir. So I thought that was super cute. So it wasn't from this picture; it was in the booth. But because they also had a big Android outside, so I figured it was almost the same. But you can kind of see it's almost the same. And I was wearing my Chrome Dino shirt. So very Google. And of course, in person, there's always the benefits of having food and swag. So yeah, so you'll never go hungry at Google I/O. They have snacks, food everywhere. They have breakfast and lunch, and just random snacks throughout the day. So I really enjoyed that part. And then of course, meeting other people. So this is actually bingo night on the first night there. So they usually have a party for the first night, and then have a little bit of dinner food, some drinks, and then yeah, this year they had like a bingo. So it was really fun. We just like sat at a table and just met a lot of new friends, new people, and just chat. And it's funny because I remember chatting to some people, and they had very similar sentiments to a lot of people here. They were kind of scared, excited, but also scared of what's coming because just of how fast AI has been advancing. And then we feel like we're in the beast of the belly because we're in the midst of it, listening to it. Yeah, but we want to know what's next. We do want to know what's next because we need to prepare ourselves for what's next. Whether things will take over our jobs or change our jobs. So yeah, and then yeah, so they also gave us some swags along the way, but also there's a Google store, so I just bought some stuff. Not everything's free. I did buy some souvenirs for myself. And the last part that I want to emphasize is the community. So I went to a lot of different community events. Some of them, or most of these, are from the Women Techmakers community. So we have different channels where we wanted to have a pre-IO event. So this one, the first picture was from a pre-IO. So that really helps us to get the community, to know the community before the event, because a lot of us came from like different cities or different countries around the world. We may not know anyone there, but I think what's great is that it doesn't matter. As long once you get there, you'll find a friend, you'll know friends. And I start seeing people that I saw from the first day, from the pre-event, throughout the entire event afterwards. There's like a few thousand people at Google I/O, but you, it seems small because you also start running into the same people over and over again. So I think that's great. And then we just took some group photos. This is at Shoreline, their main flagship location. And then this is also inside near the pavilion. Yeah, so I encourage you, if you go to any in-person event, try to make the most of the in-person aspects. Don't be like me last year where I just sat in sessions all day. I feel like I missed out on some key aspects of why I'm going there in the first place. So this year I tried to like change that. So I think I maybe went to like, besides the keynote, like 1 or 2 sessions, just because there's not enough time to do everything. But of course, it's up to you if you have time or if you want to take a break. I know that sometimes for me socializing, I need a break too. So that's when I dip into watch the session, take a break, take a breather. So I feel like that event is set up for like whatever you need to do for yourself. Yeah, just have the space to meet people or sit in a quiet spot and just chill. Okay, so let's get into the meat of what's new for front-end devs. There is a lot of things here. I'm gonna go very high level, so we don't have a lot of time to go into each one. Some of these tools are new and newly announced at I/O, so I just want to make sure that everyone have a chance to know about it if you haven't heard of it before. So we'll talk about some tools first, and then we'll talk about some more front-end UI related aspects. Okay, so this one is called Stitch. I think this one was newly announced this year. And there are existing tools out there from other companies that does similar things where you give a prompt and it generates UI. But I think this is like definitely changing the game for like front-end development. you could also like, if you do front-end development and then you have to work with a designer, now you don't even need to work with a designer per se. You can just like prompt it and then it can spit out some designs for you. What's cool about this, let me see if I can trigger an example here. So what's cool about this? Let me see. I just want to go to this one. Yeah, so what's cool is that you can export the design to Figma. So if you use Figma, you can export this design directly to Figma. And then it can also export the code. So if you don't need Figma, or if you're okay with whatever it generated, you can just export the code and then work with it there. So I think that's crazy how good everything is. Like everything's done for you. All you have to do is prompt it, give it some feedback, and then it spits out designs for you and the code. So I was like, yo, this is crazy. Of course, this one is pretty limited. You can't do a lot. You can, like, if you don't like certain styles or aesthetic, and even if you prompt it, it might not change it the way you want it. Then that's when, of course, you expect your Figma, and then you can do all the manual changes on Figma and do a lot more in Figma. For this application, I think the most you can do is changing the theme, so they come with different themes. I like the fonts, and then yeah, and then of course you can give it feedback in the prompt, and it might just regenerate everything, but it might not look the same afterwards. So, but it's definitely eliminate a lot of design aspects. Well, like if you're working in smaller teams, you might not need a designer for this. If you can just ask AI to generate designs and then you continue coding. So yeah, definitely changing the industry a lot with these like tools. And then next, oh, Firebase Studios. This one I don't know too much about, but when I heard about this, it's also very cool. So Firebase is usually for backend implementation, but now they have this Firebase Studio where you can complete like a full stack AI, full stack application or mobile applications. So that is crazy. I don't think I'm gonna there's no demo for this, but you can also check it out. Firebase Studio. URL is pretty simple to remember, and then you can check out what you can do. So yes, they can help you do Android applications and also web application. So it's like a all-in-one app. So another thing about this is like, just makes it so easy for anyone to create applications now, right? Like with front end before, we are more focused on creating the design aspect, and then maybe we work with backend developers. But now no one needs to know how to code. You can just prompt it and you can create apps. So of course, like it makes everyone's a little bit worried because maybe our job's obsolete. But I think when you do have a development background, it does help to know how to fix problems and bugs, right? Like, of course, we don't want to just push random any AI thing into the world. It might be compromised, maybe there's security risk. So yeah, but I think it's important that we know how to use these tools or are aware of what tools out there so that we don't get left behind. Jules, okay, this one is something that I found very interesting. It's an asynchronous coding agent. So this tool is made for you to eliminate doing grunt work. For example, fixing bugs. Maybe there's a lot of code that you have in your platform or the projects you're working on, like things that are not fun. Things are just like, oh, you have like to-dos everywhere where you're gonna fix it later. Like small things that doesn't break the application, but it's just like, you should improve it, but it's not a big deal if you don't, kind of thing. So Jules is like an asynchronous coding agent where you give it a task and it does everything in the background. So like for some of the coding, like platforms I'm showing you so far, is like you have to like be prompting it and then it generates outputs on the side. With this one, it's just asynchronous. So you don't actually have to be there to be watching it. It just does it in the background. And once it's ready, it'll create like a PR or have a pull request, and you can review it, and then you can just merge it into your code base. So crazy how efficient this can be and improve your code base. So yeah. I think there are other competitors out there as well. So Jules, like Google Jules, is not the only one. So a lot of topics or a lot of tools I talk about, a lot of AI companies are also doing similar things. So they're all competing at the same time. So of course, like a lot of things I mentioned may not be like revolutionary or new, but it's just more like what Google announced this year. AI Studio, I think this one is not new from this year. I think it came out last year, but they did add a lot of new features this year to AI Studio. So AI Studio is where it's like an API. You can test the different models and different APIs. You can change the parameters. So it's more for developers to kind of test and see which models they want to use for different purposes. Let's see. I think there's some, and also you can, like if you don't want to prompt right away, you can also check out some of their examples. So they have a lot of cool examples. Once it loads, I can show you. Or not. Okay, so I guess it's not working for me right now. It was working before for me, but if you have a chance to take a look by yourself, you can also take a look. Experiment with some of the examples. So those are the ones like down here. So we just move on from that. And then Gemini Canvas. So Gemini Canvas is kind of similar to if you use ChatGPT Canvas as well, where you prompt something and then on the side a canvas board kind of opens where sometimes you generate documents or sometimes in this case you generate like a mini web application. So this one is newly released this year at least in Gemini. I've used the one on ChatGPT before, the canvas. So like I said, it's not everything is like new and revolutionary. Some competitors have already done similar things. But I think this one, what I really like about this, that I think some competitors are also starting to do, is that you can share your mini apps directly. So it's like hosted on Gemini and then you just share the link, just like you're sharing chats. So for example, this is a demo that was provided from Google. I think this one is, hopefully this one works. Okay, cool. So it's like a planet generator that someone else created. So it's like a mini app. So you can rotate these 3D planets, and if you press the space bar, it generates a new planet. So that's the main gist of this like mini app. That's all it does. It doesn't do much, but as you can see, you can preview it. You can even copy this canvas if you want to like tweak it and remix it yourself. You can copy it, and then you can do some prompting and change it up and add more features to it. You can also see the code directly. So you can take this and move it somewhere else if you don't want to host it here, or if you want to expand on it, of course you can use that as well. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool. It's kind of reminds me of like CodePen, where you can share like short code snippets, but now you can just prompt it, have it output on the side, and then also share it directly. So it's just kind of like all in one. So that's what I like. So it's like, for example, before maybe if you want to share a short code snippet, you would have to like maybe prompt it on ChatGPT and then maybe copy that code, put it on another place, could be like CodePen, and then share that. But now you can just do it like directly. I believe this one is already out for everyone. Some features, I think, depending on where you live, which country, may or may not be available. I know for at least for me in Canada, there's certain things that are not available to me right now, unless I use a VPN to go into like States. But yeah, so just a preface on that. So I believe this one is available for most people. Okay, so this one is actually something I'm very excited about. AI assistance in DevTools. So I spend a lot of time in DevTools when I'm doing front-end development. I'm not sure about you, like sometimes I'm inspecting things and trying to figure out why things are not looking right. How can I fix certain things? And I feel like for front-end devs, that is where we spend a lot of time. So now AI assistance is built into Chrome DevTools. And I was blown away by how easy it is to use. And I think this one's also already live. So I want to show you a quick demo of how you can like use this. So you can also use this, like if you want to figure out like how to use it initially, you can use some of their like demos and test it on the demos first. So let's see. Yeah, so for this one, it's like fixing aspect ratio of images. So let's just open this in a new tab. Okay, so this is their demo website. I'm just gonna open my Chrome. The AI assistant's down here. It's kind of like where your console is usually. AI assistant's right there. So you can see, you can do prompting, ask it questions. So for example, this one's saying, go to learn more section and then click on AI assistant and try to make all teaser image 16:9. Okay. So I'm just gonna copy the suggested prompt and find the section. Let's come close this pop up. Okay. So this is the learn more by watching section. And you can see here that one of the video images is not the same aspect ratio as the other videos. So that is the fix. Like they want you to try to fix this image. So if you go to the section, and then when you go to the section, it's highlighted, and then it reflects it down here as well. So it knows exactly like what section you're trying to reference, because there could be like many sections or many places. And then all you have to do is prompt it. I hope this demo works. Okay, so then once you prompt it, it'll analyze it, and then it'll try to figure out what's the best thing to do, and then you just click continue if you want to modify the page. Okay, there you go. So then it fixed that image. I don't know what it did. I didn't really read into it too much, but you can see that it was able to fix that image so that it has the same aspect ratio as all the other images. And of course, right now, like this fix is only local in the dev tools, but they did announce that if you connect your project to this, you can connect your project directly so that it will do the fix on your code base directly. So I thought that was really cool. So you can fix things here directly and then immediately apply it to your code base. Because usually what we will have to do is, figure it out here and then copy the code and then bring it back to your code base. So this way you can, if you connect it, it will just apply directly. That just saves you like one step. Yeah. So I hope that is exciting. I don't know. For me, I feel like I'm nerding out because it's so exciting to see this here, to fix issues very quickly. Or at least it makes my job a little bit easier, trying to fix like certain styling issues, because I know sometimes that can be a source of a time wasting time, because just like fixing like a small thing could take forever to figure out why things are not looking correct. Yeah, the time sink. Yeah, so there's other use cases besides fixing styling bugs. You can use it to analyze network requests, like why things are not working or why things are slow. Maybe some things are blocking another thing. Using it to understand source files. I think this is useful, like if you have a big code base, maybe there are files that you didn't work on, but you're not sure like what it does. So you can always just ask AI directly in the dev tools. And then there's like investigating page performance. I'm sure there's many more use cases, but yeah, pretty cool to have that built into dev tools. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about what's new in web UI. So actually this is a very good session, and I encourage you to watch it in full if you have time or you're interested. So a lot of the things I'm going to talk about now is related to her talk, and she's sharing about what's new with a UI and what they've been working on at the Chrome developer team. I'm not gonna play it, but you can check it out if you want. So one of the things that they mentioned was how they're updating the creation of like some of these basic things that we usually do in front end. For example, styling select menus. I know that for me is the pain point sometimes, getting things to style correctly, because select menus are usually notoriously hard to style. Carousels, it's a long time thing, and also hover cards or like any hover popover elements. So in her talk, she talked about how they're reducing all the clutter of JavaScript, reducing the need for using JavaScript to just style these components using plain like HTML and CSS. So that, I think, is pretty revolutionary for like front end, because if you've been in this industry for a while, or even if you just started, you would have seen that sometimes these things come up a lot, but it's also like painful to style and to modify. And depending on what you're using, sometimes you have to use libraries, and that could be quite bloated in whatever project you're doing. And even if you're using a library, it might not, if you want to customize it a certain way, it's hard because you have to work with the library, you have to hack it a certain way or like override style. So with these new changes, you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to rely on these JavaScript libraries. You don't have to write JavaScript at all. The performance is a lot better because it's just native HTML, CSS. So I'm just going to go over it quickly. So for the select menu, yes, they're using they have certain elements where you can now style very easily. So select element and then select the content. So yes, it's just a breakdown of all the different components and pieces that you can use for this select menu. And then you can style all these individual items. So they have this option, so different options. And then this is a new feature they added where there's a check mark beside the option. And then there's like hover. So with the hover animation, you can definitely style that now. And they rely on two items that are relatively new, I think. One is the Popova API. So when you click on this item, this dropdown, this menu will pop up, kind of pop over. So before, the basic select menu is not like that. It's more like a dropdown, but now it's more like a pop. You can use it as like a pop-up. So that actually helps a lot with how we can style these options elements now. So it's like a different way of creating select menus, but I think it opens up a lot of doors for creativity. You won't be restricted to either using an older style or just like limiting yourself from you like adding certain icons. I think icons is one of the things that people like to add for select menus, and lots of other crazy features. So that's one thing. Okay, this is my favorite part, carousels. So I've been in the industry for a while, and I remember when I first started, a lot of websites. So a lot less web applications. Back then, it's more like corporate websites, and a lot of corporate websites is always like you start with a carousel. Like the moment you land on a page, it's just like a carousel with like 3 big images. It's like a lot of websites used to be like that. Thankfully, right now, we have moved past that. Not to say that we can't use carousel. Carousel is still very useful for certain things, but you don't see it often as like the main thing, the first thing you see when you land on a corporate website, just like carousels of 3 images with some text on top. So that used to be a trend. And I remember back then, there was a few like main carousel libraries like Owl Carousel and a few other ones that a lot of CMS also use. And they're pretty basic, pretty annoying to use. You have to download it, and if you want extended designs, maybe you have to download extended plugins or other libraries on top of that. So it's pretty annoying. But now you don't need any of that. You can style however you like with CSS, and then it just makes everything so much easier. So the 3 main things they added was the scroll buttons, pseudo elements, scroll markers. So scroll buttons is the 2 arrow keys left and right. Well, it doesn't have to be left and right, but it's usually the navigational elements. And then the scroll markers are like the dotted menu at the bottom of the carousel. But then, as you can see here, sorry, I'm gonna show you some demos. It makes more sense once I show you like the different examples of carousel. Yeah, maybe because I'm sharing my screen, everything loads a lot slower. My internet is not that bad, okay? Yeah. Okay, I'll give it a second. It should work. But perhaps just maybe this website is having some issues right now because it doesn't seem to load this particular website. Okay, we'll just give it a moment, see if it loads in a bit. There's another tool that I want to show you, which is the carousel configurator. So with all these new specs of how to use this, this is a great way to visualize what these like, how you can use these elements and how you can style it. Okay, so I think there's definitely something wrong with both of these. Okay, apologies for that. But once this session's over, you can always take a look at these links and to go into it. But definitely recommend reviewing the carousel gallery because they have different examples of how they use these new scroll button, scroll marker tools, pseudo elements to, oh, okay. Okay, so there's definitely something wrong with it then. Maybe it's temporarily not working. Okay, well, no matter. Hopefully it works afterwards, but I guess currently it's not working. I'll just move on from that. Okay, and then the last thing that I want to talk about from her talk was the hover cards. So this is something that uses a popover API, which we already mentioned in the select menu. When you click on the select, something will pop over. So popover is used in a lot of different things. One of the key things that's being used for, like, for example, this is like a emoji reaction for a lot of meetings. That's built in now. You can just create like a reaction and then a bunch of emojis will pop up. So that's like a popover. This is like a hover card. So you click on someone's profile and then like a card will show up. So that's a hover card. But there's a lot of other use cases for this. For example, like notifications. Some websites have a little notification bell. You click on it and then a little menu of notification will show up. So similar to, not exactly a drop down, but it's like a popover, like an element on top of something. So popovers are notorious for being hard to configure as well before, because you have to worry about when you click on it, what happens. When you want to exit out of it, what happens. You have to worry about accessibility issues. If someone using like a keyboard or if they're not using a mouse, sometimes people can't click on something. So there's a lot of issues with previous implementation for like popovers. But now that Popover Web API is kind of built into the browser, so you don't have to worry too much about that. It's kind of handled by the Popover API. So yes, so then you don't have to use JavaScript anymore. There used to be a lot of popular JavaScript libraries for doing popovers, doing the positioning of the popover, because sometimes you click on an image, you want it to pop in a certain direction. It might not always be at the bottom, right, or at the top. So there's a lot of interesting new web-based tools that allows us to make these, use these components and make these components a lot easier for us and also less bloated for our applications. Let's see. Okay, let's see the time. Okay, so we're almost at the end. So adapting to agentic era. So what does that mean? So one of the biggest news and one of the most talked about topic at Google I/O was AI mode. So I'm not sure if you've seen it, but basically changes how we search. Unfortunately, right now I can't demo it because I actually don't have access in Canada for AI mode, not yet at least. So I know when I was in the States, during Google I/O, I was able to trigger AI mode and use it and just try it out, but right now I cannot. But yes, what it does is that when you do a search, it now can search like multiple sources at once, similar to what it currently does with, if you use ChatGPT, sometimes it does a search with like through different websites and then shows you an aggregate result. Currently in Google search, it's mostly like if you do a search, like ask a question, it might show you a little AI overview. But now it does with AI mode, it's like a lot deeper. Let me just pause it for a second. With AI mode, it goes a lot deeper and you can ask it to do a lot more things. You can ask it to book you flight tickets or monitor pricing for items you want to buy and then trigger an alert when it hits a certain price point. And then the reason I paused it here was another great feature is that you can also ask it to, with shopping for clothes, you can look at a clothes and have it create the look on top of your actual self. All you have to do is upload a picture of yourself, and then select the clothes you want, and then Google will just do some magic and apply the clothes on you, on your picture, at least not in person, but on your picture. And I was able to test that at Google I/O, and it was really, really good. I asked some questions about how I was able to know, and they told me that, you know, if the retailer provides enough information, like if they provide enough information about the width, the height of the attire, the material, Google is able to, like, for example, satin felt like would feel very different or look very different on a person versus wool. So if Google knows what material that item of clothing is made of, it would drape differently on a person. So I thought that was very interesting. And also, people have different heights. I don't know if you buy clothes. Sometimes some clothes are made for like shorter people, some are for taller people. So not all clothes would look the same on a person. So if AI or if Google knows enough information about that item, they can also adjust it accordingly. So if a dress is like it's very long, but I'm like very short, it would mimic that. So it would look different on me versus like a taller person. So I thought that was very interesting and will definitely change how we shop for clothing online. So I'm excited to see it once it's more active in my country, and hopefully you can also try it out in your countries. I think it's already out in the US if I'm not mistaken. I think AI mode is. I'm not sure about like all the features. I think some of the features are coming out later in the year or in the summer. So yeah. Let's see what else. I think I also mentioned that you can use this to plan trips. I think that's one of the best case scenarios is using it to plan trips. It's gonna understand like where your hotel is. If you give it information about your hotel, and that's kind of my next section is Google is also able to source from your emails. It's going to be able to source from other apps you use, like your calendar. So maybe if you put your hotel in your calendar, it knows where you are. Yeah, it's hard for me to explain everything, but it's just like I'm just thinking about all the possibilities of this tool and how it will help me. It will know me so well that it will just personalize everything for me about my trip. Like if I'm looking for a restaurant close to a hotel I'm staying at, it would just know exactly like in this area, these are the restaurants that you should go to because it's very close to your hotel. Because usually sometimes when we maybe go on a trip and you search for restaurants, maybe in a general area, maybe if you just search like what's good in, San Francisco, you might just ask a general question. You may not know where you are, which hotel you're at. So in this case, you might not even have to explicitly say like find me restaurants near this particular hotel. It might just already know because as long as you connect your data and if you're using Google tools already, it would just kind of know a lot of things about you already. So that's a little bit scary, getting a little bit personal, but it's also could be very efficient and very useful. So for different use cases. So it depends on how much information you want to share with them. So yeah, or how much access you want Google to have. So yes, which is my next section. Google is getting very personalized. If you connect your Google apps, it can just know more about you based on the context. Your results will be a lot better because it's more personalized to you specifically. And then, so this is something I didn't show, Gemini Live. Gemini Live is where you can like use the search and then have the video on for like live interaction where Gemini can see your surrounding or see whatever you need to do. And what's cool about this is that midway you can also interact with Google Apps. For example, maybe you're outside, you see a poster for an event that you want to attend, you can use Gemini Live, um, like do a video feed and then ask it to like save this event into your Google Calendar or something, or like find directions of where to get to a certain place. So I think that is very cool. I don't know how often I'll use it. Like, I don't know if I'm going to take it out and start a video feed every time. Like, that is something I'm not sure I'm going to always do. But the other aspects of like automatically connecting your existing Google workspace or Google tools, like if you are a Google user, like for example, for myself, I've been using Gmail for like, I think over like almost 2 decades. So they have a lot of information about me. So that for me is scary if it resurfaces things from like 15 years ago, because it would just know so much about you. It's gonna know so much information about me. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I'm that part I am a little bit worried and scared. But at the same time, I do like things to be personalized. So we'll see how it goes. I feel like it's still in its infancy, so we'll see how well it can dig into my past and resurfaces and how well it can personalize search results to me specifically. And then another thing is Gmail personalized smart replies. So this is one of the things they mentioned in the keynote where it can start writing emails in your tone of voice. So I've used their basic Google rewrite tool in my corporate account where if you write an email, it can like rewrite it in a professional or in a different way or just polish it up a little bit. But this one's a little bit different. It's more like a personalized way of how you write. So I know I write in a certain way as well. Like I don't write like AI, but I have like my quirks or like maybe certain words I use. So because it's trained on your data and all your years of like if you use Gmail, if you, your years of writing, you can also start writing like you. Like it won't be writing just like an AI. It would be writing like you, and also based on your context. I think that is also getting very personal, right? Like it knows your context, so it can go to your calendar, understand like events are happening, and then use that as a reference to talk about events. Maybe if you're responding to someone and then you're agreeing to meet with them, but then you forgot that you had another event, maybe Google will know exactly before you even realize that you're almost double booked yourself. It just knows like, oh, actually you can't do that day because you already have an event. So it's just that part I'm like it's like Google knows too much about us. So but I am excited, but I just don't know how much like obviously I don't want this data to get leaked, like if my personal data get leaked on the internet by accident. So I think because we're connecting our personal lives to Google, and then you don't know what's going to happen, right? Like you don't know how that data is getting trained. Or I guess we're already somehow implicitly agreed to let them train on my data. But yes, like I was just saying, I need space. Like, I need space on Google now. But yeah, all jokes aside. Oh yes. This is my last slide for today, and I kind of gloss over the agentic part, but the agentic era comes from the fact that now instead of you just talking to a chatbot and then going back and forth, the agents, the web agents, or example like AI mode with the agents, it can start doing things for you without you always asking it to do things. Like you don't have to be explicit in telling them to do something because they kind of know in advance. They start iterating and thinking and just like changing things on the fly. So for my work, at work, I use Cursor. So if you've never heard of it, it's like an IDE built on top of VS Code, but it just extends on that by having these, you can use different AI models. And then with the agent mode, you can, prompt it something and then it starts iterating. You ask it to fix something and then it starts making lint mistakes, and then it would just start fixing itself. Like it just keeps going until it's complete, until it's all finished. So with if you talk to a regular LLM chatbot, before you would ask it to do one thing, it will do it, and then you had to keep asking it to like fix something, fix something, fix something. With the agent mode, you don't have to do that. It's just like you ask it once to complete a task, and it will try its best to do everything it needs to do and more. So sometimes I never asked it to do something, but it already predicted what I want before I even asked it to. It understands your code base. It goes through your code base, and then it just goes through everything and then start fixing similar code in other components or pages that you didn't ask it to, but it is something that you would have eventually asked it to do. So that is why my job has changed drastically, because like it thinks way ahead of me than I can ever think. Like it just all these good things that it just comes up with. That was like, yo, this is like I'm always blown away. That's why I'm just like, this my exploding head. I'm just like blown away by how good it is, and just gets better and better. I'll admit that in the beginning, it was like not the best. Maybe I was also very skeptical about it, but now I can honestly say it's mind-blowingly scary how good it is. And if you prompt it right, if you have the right settings for it, it can be even better. So that's why my job is changing a lot. But it's not a bad thing. I think as humans, we need to be problem solvers. So I think for us, we have all these AI tools to generate code, generate images, generate videos. But at the end of the day, like we're the creatives behind the scenes, we're the problem solvers. So it's just a matter of how you prompt it or ask it to solve things. And I think that's how we, I guess, stay relevant in the industry, right? Because a lot of people are going to be using AI tools regardless, right? You can't really stay away from it, because if you don't use it, then you're behind, and then you get left behind, and then you get potentially laid off or lose your job, right? So yeah, that's all I can really say about that topic. Yeah. And that's it. Thank you so much. I know I went a little bit over, but if you have any questions, let me know. I think there's some questions here. And if you want to connect with me, you can definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Eileen, for the insightful sessions. We do have some questions in chat.
Okay.
The first is, if the designs are done by AI and the code is generated by AI, what is the incentive of an employer to hire more than one or two developers? Are developers just going to become customer service representatives?
That's a good question. I don't think they're necessarily become customer service like CS, because I have also CS on in my company's team, and they do a different type of work than we do. Depending on how big your company is, of course, they might want you to do everything. They might want you to do sales, product, CS development. I don't know. I don't think so. But I feel like for software developers at least, a lot of us are becoming more like product minded. We have to be the ones solving the problems. Like it's more strategizing, which is actually I think that's a good thing. Like just knowing how to solve problems with AI. But of course, bigger teams would have more people and hire more people. But yes, they would, I guess, require less people for designing and development, but they require more people in the thinking department. And I think that is harder to get. Yeah, and I think with AI, like even in my company, we are developing features faster, but then we also have more demand for more features. So then we're lacking people in the product department, the people who are the ones strategizing, the one solving the problem. So we actually need that more right now. Like the bottleneck is no longer like development. So before, development and design actually was the slower part, right? You know, us customer or your product team might have like a proposal for a solution, but then it takes time for someone to design it, right? Take some time. Okay, design it, maybe go for some iteration. Okay, now they pass it on to the developer. And that is usually where it takes a little bit longer. Developer might come back to design and be like, oh no, that's not doable. Right? Maybe we have experienced that before. Like, someone designed something, but maybe it's not really feasible in the situation or the platform, all these reasons, right? So they might go back and forth a lot. And I think that just with AI right now just alleviates a lot of that middle ground, middleman, because it's like just one or two people dealing with the product or the feature being developed. And if you see something wrong, immediately you just tell AI to like fix something or change something. So it's just like iteration is a lot quicker. So yeah, I know it's tough. It's really, really tough. Like I know this industry is changing quite a bit, but I think if you focus more on communication, so, and also problem solving, I think these are skills that you can take wherever you go. Like it's also something that I'm trying to improve myself, like public speaking now, communicating with different types of groups of people, and also just learning how to solve problems, because that's the skill that humans are so useful for, at least for now. But yeah, hopefully that answered that question.
Thank you so much for the great answer. The next question is, how do you keep your technical skills current and your experience relevant when AI does all the coding?
Yeah, I mean, AI does do all the coding, but we also need to understand what it's doing sometimes, right? Like we shouldn't blindly trust everything it does and then just accept it, because there are a lot of flaws with it sometimes. So I think with AI, I actually learn a lot faster. Like that's what I noticed about myself is that in the past, I would have to like go for Google, search articles, read about how to solve a problem. And I eventually will figure it out, right? Just by like going on Stack Overflow or just going through all these like forums trying to solve a problem. And that's usually how we keep up to date with like technologies, like reading documents and trying to solve problems by going through like different resources. But now I just ask AI directly. Sometimes I just ask ChatGPT, or depending on what editor I'm using or what kind of model I'm using, what tool, I'll just ask it directly, like, why is this not working? And I also go a lot deeper. I can ask it like very dumb questions, and it will explain to me like in plain terms, like, oh, this is why that is like that, or like questions that I would not be able to ask Google. Like if I wanted to ask it, like at least not before. Right now, yes, I think you can also ask Google similar things, and then it will give you like a little overview of the response. But I feel like I learn a lot faster. But you also have to learn a lot more and learn a lot quicker, because you can now the information is just there for you. It's like very fast. So I think it's easier to learn in a way, right? Without you having to spend time finding answers. It's easier to learn. If you want to learn something, it's easy to just find the answers quickly. Yeah.
Easier to learn. That's best answer. Another question: how is a junior developer supposed to stand out for their first role? Are there even going to be junior roles going forward?
Yes, I see that a lot. I also yeah. I think this question comes up a lot. Because I also go to a lot of networking events and there's a lot of junior developers or just people transitioning from their different careers and they're always asking the same questions. And honestly, I don't think I have the best answer. Like I know that the companies are yes, they stop kind of hiring more entry level. They would rather have someone who has some knowledge. But I think at the end of the day, they rather have someone who is willing to learn. Because I know people who got in jobs without a lot of experience, but it's because they're, I guess in a sense, it's like their personality. They have hunger to learn. They're more willing to not be afraid to fail. Maybe another aspect that helps is that they have great networking connections. Usually, a lot of my jobs came from a network, and a lot of people I know came from networks. So, really, all you need is to find the opportunities at the right time, at the right moment, with the right people, and that's harder said than done, right? Like, and I think that's one reason why I go to a lot of networking events these days because you never know who you're gonna meet, and I'm just gonna spread my net wider to try to meet more people and also to help more people, right? At the same time, it's more like a give and take. You want to be there at the right moments because if someone knows you and knows you're looking for a job, and then when they know someone else who has this opportunity, they're gonna think of you, right? So it's just more exposure. And that's usually my advice for like people trying to get into an industry. It's more like, uh, yeah, you just have to like almost like you have to write to know the right people. Not necessarily it's like nepotism. It's more like more exposures to different people, and then the opportunities will come find you. You just expose to more opportunities that way as well. So yeah, I understand it's hard. Like I honestly don't know how I would even survive in this industry if I just started now, because I think a lot of people are actually moving out of web development now, right? Because a few years ago people were getting into it. Now it's kind of the opposite. It's like getting out of it. So, but if you're passionate about it, then I think continue doing what you do and showcasing your skills, maybe your portfolio online. Definitely ask for feedback. If you're not getting interviews, maybe it's your resume. If you are getting interviews but you're not passing to the next stage, then maybe it's your interviewing skills. So it's like different stages. See what is the issue and try to solve it from there. But it's yeah, I don't know if I have like the best answer to like solve this issue of entry level or junior developers getting jobs right now. It's pretty tough. Yeah.
Great advice. Definitely networking is the key. Another, not a question, probably a comment. Is personalized always equals better? Algorithms that show people only what they want to see. We've seen how that created a feedback loop of radicalization on Facebook, for instance.
I think that's a good comment and good observation. I think in the context of how, at least with the tool or the things I mentioned, it's more like personalizing it based on what you're doing. Like that part I'm okay with. I think the part that I would not be okay with is like if it starts filtering certain news for me, thinking that I'm only interested in certain news. I think that's when it becomes like the personalization is not very good because I might be missing news or like certain events or aspects from things outside my circle. I do like the part where it's personalized, like if it understands my schedule, which is what I want it to know, or understand certain context. I don't know. It's yeah, this is what I'll need to see, and then maybe I can ask you once I start using these Google Gmail personalized tools. Like I honestly don't know how well it's gonna perform. Even like it sounds great in theory. Like some of the demos presented sounds great. Like oh, it knows your schedule, it knows um, all your Gmails and your correspondence, but at the same time, it may not understand all the context. So that's like the best case scenario if it does improve my productivity, if it knows so much about me that it helps me write emails faster or just understand my context so I won't double book myself or just provide great suggestions based on where I am. But yeah, I think there's a lot of aspects of personalization that I'm also scared of it resurfacing or knowing about me, and training on that kind of data. But I think in a corporate setting, it's good. Like I use Gmail or Google Workspace for work. And I really like that, at least in ChatGPT, we have a corporate ChatGPT account, and then I'm able to connect my Google Drive to ChatGPT. And then when I'm asking it, prompting or asking questions, it actually pulls sources from our shared workspace and like documents, and then provide it in the answer. So that's the context that is actually very useful. And it's personalized to my company, personalized to me. So that for me is helpful. So it's not trained on, yeah, I won't see any other company's data, but it's understand documents that I have in my Google Drive related to my company, or like spreadsheets. It's able to understand textual information for spreadsheets. So that is useful. Like if I'm just trying to search for information, it kind of just like pops up. And I think Google is going in the similar direction as that. So like I said before, it's like there's already existing like integrations where they know we are a Google like information, like Google Drive, like docs and spreadsheets, and even I think presentations are similar. Like they can already know those information. But now just Google is doing their own version of it. Yeah.
It sounds really interesting. Thank you so much, Eileen, for the insightful session and for sharing with us the latest web trends from Google I/O. I hope that everyone who joined enjoyed the session, and see you soon at our next event. Thanks for
Thank you,
joining.
everyone.